Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to Southside Dodge Rebels this week. One more time from the 2012 Scotties Tournament of Hearts. We've got a very busy, very exciting episode once again. Highlights from the first half of the four-game Saskatchewan road trip. We go inside the Rebels' locker room for a sneak peek, and we bring in Jared Waldo from RebelRebellion.com. We kick today's show off by flashing back to this past Friday evening. The Rebels kicking off their Saskatchewan roadie versus the Prince Albert Raiders. Rebels came out hard to start the game, but it's the Raiders who strike first when Mark McNeil digs the puck out of the corner and takes it to the net. Trochu native Mike Winther then slides it past Devin Dubik for a 1-0 lead. Raiders take a 2-0 lead a few minutes later on a delayed penalty. Dubik makes the first save, but the Rebels can't clear the zone. Raiders keep it, and it's Tyler Jaworski. His point shot is tipped home by Shane Daniluk. Just a minute 23 after that, it's 3-0. Justin Malin takes the pass from Daniluk. He turns on the Jets, blows past Cody Teal, and buries his 22nd of the season. That would be it for Devin Dubik on the night. He makes way for Bolton Pouliot. Rebels in a huge hole through 20 minutes. Rebels try to get on the board in the second period. Matthew Dumba comes out of the corner, gets it out front to Turner Elson, but check out the Dominic Hasek-like save by Cole Holowenko, simply superb. Former Raider Mark McKenzie looks to fire up his teammates by dropping the mitts with Michael Holenka. The Slovakian doesn't seem interested at first, but he holds his own until McKenzie falls down.
By his own stick, and they're chucking the knuckles, Holenka and Mark McKenzie. Holenka pulls the sweater over Mark McKenzie's head. And
then Holenka takes the liberty of firing a few more shots on the defenseless forward. Then he plays up the crowd on his way to the penalty box. A bit of hot doggery by Holenka. Later, Charles Inglis gets knocked down in the neutral zone, but bounces back and carries the puck into Raiders territory. But as he dishes the puck to Trace Elson, Inglis gets his elbow up on the Prince Albert defender. That bit of headhunting earns number 14 a trip to the sin bin. Late in the third period, Rebels trying desperately to get themselves on the scoreboard, but Mark McNeil gets the puck at his own end line. He spins and fires it all the way down the ice for a 200-foot empty net goal. 4-0 the final score as the Raiders beat the Rebels for the third time this year. Again, not a great way for the Rebels to kick off their Saskatchewan jaunt. Cole Holowenko really was the difference in this game, making 43 saves. Things not much easier the next night for your Red Deer Rebels as they went into Saskatoon to take on their arch rivals, the Blades. Blades strike first early in the first period. Jake Trask leads the 2-on-1, feeds Brent Benson, who chips it past Devin Dubik for a 1-0 lead. Rebels tie the game in the second as Trace Elson sets up John Person for his 20th goal of the season. It's 1-1. Brooks Maxwell takes the nice feed from Person and fires home his 5th of the season past Andrei Makarov. Josh Nichols comes in with a backhand deke, but he too is stopped by Dubik. The rebound, however, comes to Thrower, who ties the game at 2. Dietz fires from the point. Dubik can't find the rebound before Trask does. He puts home his 18th of the year for a 3-2 Blades lead. Charles Inglis tries to pull the Rebels even, but is denied by Makarov. But John Person, having a whale of a game, fights off a hook to score his 2nd of the game, 21st of the season for a 3-3 tie. Overtime solves nothing. It would eventually be up to Alex Petrovic to win it for the Rebels, and he goes backhand deke and scores the game winner. Rebels win a thriller 4-3.
Really liked the resilience we showed in the third period. Got down 3-2 early in the period, but stuck with it, continued to play well, had a number of huge opportunities. I thought Makarov really played well in the third period for them, but finally burst his bubble there late and a huge extra point in the shootout. So all in all, a real good effort. I thought we played really well again, and we just got to keep chipping away here.
A great come-from-behind victory for the Rebels in this one as they end up firing 48 shots on goal. John Person with a big night, 2 goals and an assist. Things starting to look grim for the Rebels. 11 games left in their regular season. They sit 10 points back of the final playoff spot. The 3-point night in Saskatoon boosting John Person's lead in the overall scoring race for your Red Deer Rebels, 53 points in 59 games. Here's what's on tap this week for your Red Deer Rebels. Tuesday night, they visit the Moose Jaw Warriors. Wednesday, they're at Regina. Then they return home to the NMAX Centrium for games Friday night versus Swift Current and Saturday versus the Blades. As always, catch every broadcast on the home of the Rebels, 106.7 The Drive. Still to come, we chat with Jared Waldo from RebelRebellion.com, and we go inside the Rebels dressing room. Southside Dodge Rebels This Week is presented by Southside Dodge Chrysler Jeep in Red Deer, Alberta. Welcome back to the show. Well, as we continue today, we bring in a special guest for this week. We've got Jaron Waldo, the creator and, I guess, blogger for RebelRebellion.com. He's followed this team closely for a number of years before starting up a great website for Rebels fans to check out. And Jared, maybe just a quick overall thought. The Rebels, not exactly a great situation. You can be proud of the way they're battling, but the odds aren't looking good for them the rest of the way here.
No, it's really not looking that good for them. And anytime you're dressing 15 skaters at this point in the season when you're chasing a playoff spot, you're usually not going to end up with very favorable results. But, a good win against Saskatoon when you take it to a shootout against a team like that. But you take a look at the standings right now, and when you've got, that many games to go and that far back in the standings, it really makes it difficult. It's
nice to, like you say, get a good result against a good team like Saskatoon, but unfortunately it comes on the heels of another loss to the Prince Albert Raiders, third time this season. A big part of why the Rebels are in the hole they're in is they've struggled against some of the teams lower in the standings than them.
Absolutely, and Prince Albert's one of those teams you really can't figure it out. They seem to have the Rebels' numbers, and they've had it all season. You take a look at when they went through BC, and you're able to pick up wins against Vancouver and Kamloops, some higher echelon teams. But then you look at Prince George, a team that they probably should beat, and they lose points there. So you think of points against Prince Albert, points against Prince George, and those are 4 big points right there. And at this point of the season, again, you can't be losing those games.
You mentioned the fact that the Rebels have been short-staffed, 15 skaters the other night against Saskatoon. The bright spot is, when possible, the Rebels have been able to call upon a number of their prospects, some younger players, and they're getting some ice time that in this situation they wouldn't normally get because of the lengthy injuries to the veterans.
Well, absolutely, and that's kind of how you have to look at this if you're the Rebels organization. You don't want to see so many injuries, especially to key players, but when you get a chance to see some of these prospects in there, the Dexter Brickers, the Hayden Flurries, the Bochucks, when you get these guys in there, and for a chance to come in this late in the season, but also to prep for next season as well and get a taste of what it takes to be a WHL player on a regular basis and playing up with the big guys, especially at a pressure-packed time like this. This is great experience for those young guys. So if there's any positive to take out of this for the Rebels, that's it.
So let's lay out the law of the land here as we go down the home stretch. As we talk now, the Rebels have 11 games left in the season. 6 of them will be at home once the Scotties clears out of here, but they're not going to be easy games by any means, and they've got 5 road games against some tough playoff opponents too. They've almost, like we were just saying off mic, have to run the table to have a shot at this thing.
They really do, and at this point, with 11 games left to go, 9 of the 11 against teams who are already in a playoff position and teams that are probably going to make the playoffs, it doesn't look very favorable for the Rebels. And you consider the record against those 11 teams, 9-18-0-2, I believe it is, or 9-18-1-1. Regardless, it's not very favorable for the Rebels. So all they can ask is go out there and just continue to do what they've done over the last handful of games and just put in that consistent, gritty effort, grease out as many points as you can, and hopefully at the end of the day, it's good enough to earn a playoff spot.
I know a lot of fans are resting their hat and hoping, based on this series between the Regina Pats and the Brandon Wheat Kings, they play each other a whole schwack of times down the stretch. Now, on Saturday night, that didn't really work out in the Rebels' favor because it ended up being a 3-point game, and it was the Wheat Kings who won it in the shootout. So as much as Rebels fans would probably like one team or the other to sweep that series, it might not even help that much.
It might not, and at this point, as close as Regina and Brandon are in the standings and when they play each other, and the amount of talent they have on both teams and playing well at this time of the year, it wouldn't surprise me to see, if they play 4 more times, to see them gain points in each game for both teams, and so that's really not going to help the Rebels situation. So all they can do, though, is control what they can control, as any coach will tell you, any cliche, but the Rebels just have to go out there and try and earn as many points as they can and then worry about the other teams afterwards.
Jared, in light of everything that's gone on this year, maybe your thoughts on this coaching staff and the work that they've done. Not exactly an ideal situation for Jesse Wallen and crew, but they've sure busted their butts to try and get this thing fixed.
Well, absolutely, and maybe on paper, not exactly Coach of the Year nominees just based on the standings, but when you consider how much effort has gone into making this group competitive on a nightly basis, and considering the setbacks they've had with injuries, full credit and marks to Jesse Wallen, Bryce Tolman, Chris Niesner, the entire Rebels coaching staff, because to take what they've had, the cards they've been dealt. And it's been one of those seasons for the Rebels, the ups and downs, the Memorial Cup, the injuries, losing your starting goaltender, losing your captain for most of the season, two 20-year-old defensemen for most of the season. So when you consider all of that and how close they are still to a playoff spot, I mean, full credit and marks have to be given to Jesse Wallen and his staff, because, a lesser coach and maybe other teams in the league might not have been able to do this, but Wallen has been able to come through.
Absolutely. And regardless if the playoffs are even a possibility by the time the Rebels come back here next weekend, we've got 6 home games left in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. A great chance for the Rebels fans to come out and see this team, which hasn't exactly laid over and gone by the wayside. The effort will be there, and plenty of entertainment still to come.
Absolutely. And when you consider that a lot of those games are against Central Division opponents, and the Medicine Hats, the Calgarys, the Edmontons, these are the teams that we love to see. And given the way this team has played, like you said, over the last couple of weeks, I don't expect any quit in Jesse Wallen's hockey club moving forward to finish out this season.
Tell us a little bit more about what we can expect to see on RebelRebellion.com here over the next few weeks.
Well, we're following the push to the playoffs here, so we're going to be keeping a close eye on them, as well as the Brandons and Reginas, and making sure that all the math adds up and the numbers are there. But basically just taking it game by game for the rest of the season, and then hopefully we're talking playoffs and previewing a first-round matchup, but we'll take it every day as we go.
Jared, thanks for doing this.
Thanks a lot, Troy.
Jared Waldo from RebelRebellion.com joining us here on Southside Dodge Rebels This Week. The Rebels have a reputation throughout the Western Hockey League as having one of the best players' facilities available. Recently, we went behind the scenes with the legendary Dave Radar Horning for a sneak peek, an exclusive, if you will, at the Red Deer Rebels dressing room.
Welcome to the Rebels dressing room. Authorized personnel, as you can see. You guys are authorized today. Come on in. This is the first room that the boys will enter when they came on from outside. They'll get changed out of their street clothes into either their workout gear or their hockey underwear. Come on down the hallway, we'll show you some more. And the boys are a little spoiled here. They also have a sauna area and then the shower area. Now, we'll enter the main dressing room. As you can see, we're set up for practice today. On game days, the boys will come in and this will be uncovered. And one thing you want to make sure you don't do is step on the logo. Is the respect. That's our logo. It's very similar to never letting your game jersey hit the floor. Okay, so that's the dressing room. Come on down, we've got more to show you. As far as injuries go, everything's done in-house. We have our athletic therapist, Terrence Robertson, and this is where he does most of his work. And down the hall, this is where I get to perform my magic. Everything from sewing name bars onto the backs of jerseys, stitching up game socks, practice socks, sharpening skates, repairing skates, gloves, it all happens back here. Up on my wall here, I've got some 8x10s of some of the players that I've had the opportunity to work with over the past 20 years. So we're going to go from where I do my work to where the boys actually do some workouts and make up the sweat. And this here is the weight room. We believe it's one of the finest in the Western Hockey League. And we've actually even had some boys come back from pro, whether they be the American League or East Coast League teams, and they even look at it and they're a little bit jealous of what we have. Come on into the coach's office. As you can see, each coach has his own personal work area. Players are allowed in here only when they're requested by the coaching staff. Okay, and now probably the most exciting part for the players is going out that exit. This is where they go out to 4,500 screaming fans on a nightly basis, grab their stick, grab their weapon, head out to the ice. And now we have a practice to get to. We'll see you later.
After earning a bye from the first round of playoffs, the Red Deer Midget AAA Optimist Rebels are set to kick off their postseason. They take on the Calgary Buffaloes in round 2 starting Tuesday at the Red Deer Arena. The Buffaloes advanced to round 2 after beating up the UFA Bisons in the opening round. That means Connor Bleakley's midget season is over. He's eligible to join the Rebels roster full-time, and he'll do just that starting Tuesday in Moose Jaw. Well, that does it for this week's show. Thanks again for watching. Follow us on Twitter at Rebels This Week, on Facebook, and as always on our website, rebelsthisweek.com. We'll see you next time.